Sure. So my name is Ross Kaplan, and I'm the program director of the Seniors 55 Plus program and the Liberal Arts program at SFU in Continuing Studies. Okay. So the first question you've asked is what is the Seniors program all about? Basically, I can tell you that the program has been in existence since 1974, and it started as a credit program so that seniors could take classes for credit. And if they were 60 and over, they were free because they had a tuition waiver. That ended about 4 years ago, much to a lot of people's sadness. You know, people are still angry about it, so that they have to go elsewhere if they want to finish their degree, if they were in the middle of the degree or whatnot. But the program has evolved to a non-credit program of academic and intellectual stimulating classes for people 55 and over.
Mm-hmm.
We've expanded it to include during the evenings and weekends adults of all ages. So when you're done with your classes during the day or evening, you could take one of our classes that we offer. It's non-credit, it's 6 weeks, no tests, no papers, and no exams. So it's kind of a way to learn liberal arts ideas without having to do all the work that you have to do for credit.
Okay, what kind of seniors do you typically see that sign up for these courses?
So the seniors we see are a wide variety. Many have an education, a bachelor's degree or higher. Many people even have PhDs and have spent their lives teaching other people. But others may have just gone through high school. Some have not graduated from high school. We had one example of a student in one of our classes on Joseph Conrad who was a fisherman. Actually, he was a whaler.
Oh, wow.
And Joseph Conrad, of course, had his early history, was a seaman. And so this man, who never graduated from high school, was a self-taught scholar on Conrad. He read, he studied, and he was particularly interested in that. Another person that I can think of is a woman who's probably in her 80s, who is a pediatrician, retired, and takes at least 2 to 3 courses every semester with us. And then everybody in between, a lot of retired teachers and librarians because they're used to learning and studying and whatever. And all of our courses are liberal arts. We never teach anybody how to do anything. So we don't have language courses, and what I mean by that is we're not going to teach people Spanish to speak Spanish, or we're not going to teach people how to use computers, but we might teach the history or other aspects of whatever it is. So we might look at Latin American culture, okay, and study every aspect, but we're not going to teach you how to speak Spanish.
Okay. Unlike the senior centers.
They do
They would, some
have,
of them would.
right. They have, it. What we refer to, the difference between what we do and senior centers or continuing education programs in boards of education, like the Vancouver Board of Education, is that's more recreational learning as opposed to ours, which has that academic and intellectual bent to it. So that all of our courses are taught by either retired or current professors or an expert in their field. I'm just trying to think of an example of somebody that doesn't have their PhD yet who's teaching. We have a course coming up on architecture, and that person doesn't have a PhD but has experience in teaching at BCIT and Vancouver Community College. So at least they have that teaching. Teaching is the passion. So the next question is what kind of classes are available here and how are the subjects chosen? So I've talked a little bit about what the classes are. It's liberal arts of any kind. So we might have a course on the history of astronomy, or we might have a course on Russian literature. Sometimes they're very specific, and other times they're very broad in their approach. Oftentimes we will have follow-up courses so that people, if they like the subject, the teacher's good, that we can continue offering more information about a subject. So as an example, we had a course on Dostoevsky, and the students love the teacher, and she's really quite good. And but they were upset because they were so hungry for more, and in 6 weeks, what can you talk about Dostoevsky, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they would have rather, in that instance, had one book, okay? Just concentrate not necessarily on the author and 3 works, but on a single work. So another course we just finished up with is James Joyce's Ulysses. And I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's a very long book, not an easy book to read. Okay, it's one of the greatest pieces of literature, and the author, of course, is one of the best authors. But it's not an easy book to read, and so we offered it over 4 different sessions. So that means 24 classes, and the instructor with the students read the entire book with comments and whatever. And many of the students in the class said that they never got through past the halfway point of that book. And so they were happy. This was 30 some years ago. So they were happy to be able to read it cover to cover and understand it and have a discussion. So it can be broad classes, and it can be short classes, or drill down into one particular topic.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned like a wait list a lot. Like, so how big is the senior student population?
Every semester is different, and we get new students every semester. So the average number of student enrollments, not individuals, but enrollments, is about 1,000. So we have 1,000 enrollments per semester, which means, and we run about 28 classes. All right, so that's a pretty good average,
yeah.
Okay? We have classes of 75 people, which is not big from your standards, right? Or don't you have classes with hundreds of students in it?
Yeah.
But for us, 75 is one of the biggest we've ever had. We did have one last semester on Leonard Cohen and Thomas Merton. Leonard Cohen, as you know, is a Canadian poet, songwriter, author, artist. He even is an artist, and has dabbled in Buddhism. Mm-hmm. And questioned his own religion. And Thomas Merton is a Catholic priest, I think. All of a sudden, I'm not sure if he's Jesuit or whatever, what branch. Also dabbles in Buddhism and looks at different ways of life, and is an author, very famous, no longer alive. And so this teacher is studying the 2 of them and their impact. And we had 94 enrolled in this class. So, it was a combination of the instructor, the subject, and I think Leonard Cohen. I think he has a lot to do with it. Of that generation, he is, he still comes to, he performs. I don't know how old he is. He's old, but he performs, and his concerts sell out. So he's still very popular, even though you may never have heard of him.
Yeah, that's like
You know what, you would if you did the one song that he's famous for. I think you might maybe have heard it,
mm-hmm.
but his son is following in his father's footsteps and is a singer or whatever else he does. So anyway.
So I want to ask, what are some difficulties that you can see or experience when working with seniors?
What are some what? I didn't hear you.
Difficulties.
Oh, difficulties. Seniors are like any other group of people. And so you've got people who are demanding, and you've got people who are very meek, and you've got people who, just like any other population. So there really is no real difficulty in working with seniors. Some people may say that there is, but they're really not. They're the same as really any other group of people. So I think if you ask people around here, they will describe them as cute, or they might describe them as cranky, or whatever, but it's because they've only seen a few of them who wander up here, right?
Right.
To say, I can't get on the computer. And it's useless to try and help some of them because they don't even know what a URL is,
right.
Or, some of the basic. Others are very adept, and it's not a problem. So it just is a microcosm of the entire community when you say seniors. But I've worked with seniors for over 30 years, so I'm sort of used to it, you know, and I don't find any particular difficulties working for them. But they're demanding. They know what they want. They are paying for what they want. And so their expectations are high. And that's kind of a good thing because it makes us able to produce a product that is the best, and we've got people that are waiting for it. And when we underperform, let's say we have an instructor that's not quite so good, we hear of it. Every course they take, they have the opportunity at the end of the 6 weeks to do an evaluation. We evaluate all our courses, and they're very honest and very forthright.
So you mentioned earlier that you also train senior program coordinators.
I have worked with senior center directors. Yes. And we talked a little bit about the difference between what we do here. And I would say that the major difference is that the senior centers are more recreational in what they do for seniors because that's the kind of seniors that are attracted there. So even some of our students may go to a senior center, but they go to the senior center to play bridge or maybe to learn, Spanish if it's being taught, or how to do work with the computers. But for that solid educational experience, that's what we offer. And we don't do anything else but that. You know, in other words, I don't have to help people fill their tax papers out or, hook them up to other services. That they go to the service centers for, the senior centers, but here we do. So a senior center is going to work with a wider variety of people who have potentially more needs and staff to deal with that, whereas we simply plan our classes or our events and they just come for that. So if they needed help with something else, they have other resources in the community, which are critical. I mean, we can't do without our senior centers because they would serve the average person. The people that come to this program are just a little bit more intellectually curious. They're not better, I will never say that, but they're just have a different kind of curiosity.
Why did you choose to come here to Lehigh University to learn, or is it for social reasons?
Well, I'm here because now that I'm of a certain age, I can actually take classes of things just because I'm interested in them. I don't have to write term papers and any of that other stuff. Just plain self-indulgent.
That's awesome.
And I spent 42 years as a teacher, so I spent all of that time, researching things that I needed for the next day at school for the students, and didn't spend very much time doing my own learning. And so when I finished and retired, I decided that I wanted to learn some things that I didn't know anything about, because I was an English teacher and special ed teacher, and so now I'm taking classes in archaeology and technology and a bunch of other things that I really hadn't done very much research on before, and it's great.
And for me, the same thing. I'm retired for almost 8.5 years and is doing things that I just have a passion for, or I think I might have a passion for, but to try it. And just something new and different, like I'm taking about the beat generation, didn't know anything about beats. And I've taken history of coins and just data and surrealism and this course about marine archaeology, and it's freedom to do what you want. It's fantastic.
And it's not connected to a job or
No,
anything else.
exactly.
Just plain
There's no job.
It's a lot free.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
I just retired. I retired in December of last year. And for me, I guess I've taken it for different reasons. Again, to broaden my horizons in terms of what's out there. I too worked for 32 years as an urban planner, and I just wanted to do something different. But I'm also looking at it as a possibility for me to actually do coursework. I may go back and do a master's degree in local studies. And sensory using things.
So actual like testing and grading, they go after.
No, I would have to do another degree possibly. Prior to doing
So what kinds of classes do you guys take? Like maybe like in the past that you enjoyed or what you're currently taking?
Well, I've taken several archaeology classes just because I always was interested, that's all. And I really like the current affairs classes, like I took a seminar class previous term on the causes of the Arab Spring, and it was absolutely fantastic, and I'm hoping there's going to be more like that.
And I started out, actually, the first class I took 2 years ago was about shoes. So I've done several fashion design classes, and then I heard that the jazz class was really excellent. So I've taken Broadway music and 3 classes in jazz history from like 1900 to 1950 or whatever.
Wow.
And I took one in social change, and then I've taken 2 technology classes where you're not learning how to use your device, but you're learning the history of the technology and what's up and coming, because the prof was a researcher, so what's probably coming like next year or the year after, or where we're going with technology. And then I've been getting more and more interested in history and sort of I love the water and I love archaeology, so that's why I got into this
And
class.
you can swim.
For me, again, I've taken so many different courses. I think the most radical I took was understanding terrorism. And that was a seminar. And that was really, it opened my eyes about how media affects us about terrorism. And then the data and surrealism and the coins, the history of coins, and even talking about this archaeology course. The coins are very prominent, she's talking about coins, and it's all connected. Everything's connected in one way or another. No matter what you take, there's connections. And it's just broadening your mind. It's wonderful.
Yeah, similar sentiments, and I've taken courses here on, on the development of Great Britain and different peoples that came in, the Celts and the Romans and stuff like that. So again, tying back to see the archaeology and the connections of the globalization that was even happening at that point in time.
Wow.
And this stuff, yeah, just really picturesque.
Why did you choose to go to a program like this as opposed to going back to a university setting, like with grades and tests?
Been there, done that. I spent my whole career, and I'm still working, I've been a writer, and I don't want to write in my spare time. That's sort of the busman's holiday, right? I really don't want to go back and get another degree, at least not at this point. I just plain want to learn stuff that I don't need for work or anything. There isn't a reason I have to do it. So that doesn't answer your question at all, does it?
No, very well.
And I have my master's degree. At one point, I was going to do my PhD, and I just because of circumstances, I didn't go back and do that. But I just decided that I needed some freedom and to be able to come and sit and learn things that I wanted to learn without having to actually, again, same thing, without having to actually write all the tests and do all of that kind of stuff. So I just found it sort of more freeing to be able to come and not have to have that kind of pressure. Although I am doing the non-credit certificate, which means that you have to take 11 courses and write an essay at the end. But it's a lot easier to write an essay just, sort of saying why you like the class and connecting it to the course than it is to have to do all the essays that you guys do, right?
Yeah.